Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Bill on Bikes. I'm Bill Miko. This is my facility, the Motorcycle Garage in Phoenix, Arizona. And what I have behind me is an older FLH. It comes with a sidecar. It had been brought to me from a customer. He bought it from a place, let's say towards the west. I don't want to really mention it, but this has to be one of the most butched bikes I've ever seen. It was a complete restoration. The customer, the client, paid $80,000 for this. I said it does come with a sidecar, which we will be reconnecting later. But the bike's just, it's really unsafe to ride. They actually didn't even put the engine main seal in the engine case to prevent oil going from the engine into the primary. Every time I find something wrong with this bike, every nut and bolt is loose, engine mounts are loose. It's just a nightmare. So I'm basically going through the whole thing. Had the wrong rear belt on it. It was so tight it would have just ruined the transmission. So we're going to make it right. I'm going to show you some of the processes. You can see we already have the swing arm off. I'm going to take the camera around and show you the other side. We have the inner primary off. I'm going to bring it to the other side here. So I've already replaced and put a new engine main seal in. This wasn't there. They had the gas line jammed into the motor mount. It was already starting just to seep. They didn't have it run correctly. It was from here, it was going up over the motor mount, rubbing through. Obviously, this is a rubber mounted engine. It vibrates, it moves around a lot, and it was just, going to cause a fire. It was going to go through the hose. So that's already been all taken care of. We're pretty much going to get this squared away. I'll show you the process as we go along. It's kind of hard here because I'm being the cameraman and the mechanic and the voice guy. I'll show you one other project we have going over here in the shop. This is actually, it's a pretty nice bike. It's just also upgrading to a 50 amp alternator. I can't show you now because the bike's up, but in the tour pack, they have a big amplifier and a lot going on for the stereo. You can see the wires coming out here. They're pretty heavy duty. And it was just drawing so much voltage that the bike couldn't keep up with it. It would just basically discharge. Things like the cover are loose. These bolts are loose. I got to go through. I'm going to pull the carb, fix all that. The rocker boxes are leaking and they're not set correctly. You can see how they're pushed to one side. I don't know if you probably can't see that, but they're already starting to seep on the other side. So I'm going to go through. Maybe you can notice how these are pushed in here. You got to take your time when you line those up. So I'm going to pull the tank, fix that before it becomes a problem, and probably figure whatever else we got going on up here. Anyway, that's what's going on. We'll fix this and make it nice. And over here we got a V-Rod, my favorite motorcycle Harley ever made. This is an 03 anniversary, the 100th anniversary unit, and we're completely going through this bike. We're going to do the valve adjustment. I'm going to document and show you how that's done. Full service, rebuild the front Hayes brakes. You pull the brake handle and it goes all the way to the grip. So we're going to fix that. New tires. Flush the engine coolant. We're just going to go through the whole bike. New tires, brake pads. We'll go through everything. Again, this is Bill, Motorcycle Garage. Thanks for watching, and we're going to get everything going here. We'll talk to you guys later. Quick update on our older FL with the sidecar. I'm already into this thing for like 19 hours. There's been so much work. Anyway, the rear wheel was out of alignment. It was all the way forward. Wrong belt, wrong front belt sprocket. They had gone up a couple teeth, which I don't know why you would want to do that with a bike with a sidecar. They don't see the highway that often, but whatever. You could see the tire was cocked. The belt alignment was incorrect, and you can see where it was hitting the tire here. It's just cosmetic damage. It doesn't affect the integrity of the tire, so we're okay there. So we got the new belt, the sprocket taken care of. I had to go in and realign all the spacers, so the rear wheel would be aligned correctly in the back. And I don't know if you can see this. I'll bring it up here, but this is wearing, and this bike doesn't have a lot of miles on it. So you could see what was happening was this fits inside the bearing. Even though the axle's tight, the bearing is moving back and forth like this, causing this to wear. He actually had the rear wheel was walking on the axle, so that's not good. So we took care of all that. I use a different pressed-in type of sleeve that goes in there in the bearing. They had gone and cut the adjusters. That's another reason you never take your measurements off the adjusters. I know some guys do, but they could be cut, they could be off slightly. Not everything's manufactured the same. You have to use a tool like this, and you always go off the center of the pivot shaft to the center of the axle. You go to the other side, you do the same thing. That way the wheel will always be aligned in the rear swing arm assembly every single time. So we're making progress on it. I got to put in the high output stator. We're going to do a 50 amp. We're going to have to change out the breaker. Everything on this bike has been loose. There were bolts that were missing up under the fender. These bolts for the transmission mount literally just came right out. There was no torque on them at all. My goal is to have this thing done for bike weeks. I only have about 4 weeks to get this complete, and I got a lot of other work waiting. So we'll knock it out, and we'll keep you up to date. All right, well, a little update on our 94 FL project. I was hoping, I got Bike Week coming up here, probably only about 3 weeks away here in Arizona. I was hoping I'd be probably mounting the sidecar, but there's an issue. You try to start it, you can tell it's really laboring just to turn over. I do remember the customer telling me, Rod, he's a great guy, you know, he bought this bike sight unseen and had it shipped to his house out here in Arizona. He said he had gotten to the end of the driveway and it just stopped running, and then he couldn't get it started. We knew we were going to update to the 50 amp charging system because of the stereo that's in this. It's some automotive setup with this 3 or 4 amps in the tour pack, and I'm not a stereo guy by any means, I'm really not into it, but it was just drawing so much amperage. These bikes had trouble as it was. The 32 amp system really didn't keep up with the stock bikes barely. You put a few lights and accessories on, and they would labor to charge correctly, especially at idle. So we update the 50 amp system. I'm just having issues trying to start this thing. I can't get to run. It seems like a timing issue, or the engine's turning over hard. I have a 350 cranking amp battery in this. Start is fine, updated. It has a newer jack shaft. I mean, so now I'm like, well, maybe something went wrong in my alignment down here in the when I mounted the stator, or I did something wrong in the primary. I can't. So I start checking. You got to start doing process of elimination. All that's correct. There's nothing rubbing. So alignment was correct with the primary and the clutch bat. All that's good. So as you can see, I have the plugs pulled, and I got my handy dandy little tool here to be able to turn the crank. And I want to show you, I can't even, look how hard I'm pushing. I can't rotate this. I mean, it's got issues. There's something wrong in this engine. I'm not sure if it's over in the cam compartment, if it's something in the lower end. You do remember this bike did not have an engine main seal in it that we had to put in. I'm just not sure what's going on at this point. This is going to be process of elimination. We may end up completely removing the engine from the chassis and splitting the cases at this point. I'm not sure. My goal is still to get it ready for Bike Week. I got a little time, and Rod's a great customer. Said, hey, I've been working on this bike basically for a week. I'm concentrating on your bike. I'm not working on anything else. I've kind of put everything else on the back burner, and everything's stacking up work-wise because, as everyone knows, I'm a one-man show, except when I have my help here in the summer. And he's still in college, so I'm not going to see him for a while. So he said, Bill, just throw some money on my account and just keep going on it. So, he's a great customer, and he understands. And maybe he's going to try to get some money out of these guys. And this bike doesn't have, I don't even know if he has 50 miles on it. I don't think he has 20 miles on it. He's never really been able to ride this bike. So it's an issue from the day he bought it. And we're just going to have to figure out what's going on. That's pretty much it. So I'll keep you up to date, keep watching, and we'll figure this out together.